Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to teach you how to progress in Throne and Liberty. Um, Essentially, there are certain steps that you're going to need to do in order to transition from green to blue and then blue to purple. And then as you're transitioning into your purple T1 gear, this is considered mid-game. This mid-game preparation is necessary so that you can be prepared for the T2 content that's to come in November and in the future. In order to do this, what you need to have is a solid build that is going to last for the duration of the game. So, what I provided in terms for Staff Dagger is a progression guide that starts blue green. So, for those of you that are wondering how to transfer from this blue green into the T1, one of the T1 versions of my builds, this is going to be mostly informational for you. All right, so essentially, the best way to transition from blue to purple is to make sure that your blues are fully traded. Okay? When your blues are fully traded and you transfer them into a purple, you're going to get blessing. And the blessing feature, it allows, like you see on these pants, I have 16 blessing. The blessing feature allows you to utilize lower grade gear to upgrade your higher tier gear. So if you want to save the most amount of lucent when upgrading your gear, it's usually best to fully transfer a fully traded. However, for example, if you get a purple D1, like let's say I get these gloves before I finish maxing out the traits on my blues, like if I've only put a few traits in the blues, um, it's gonna be worth it to upgrade immediately. However, if you have a fully traded blue and your purple only is gonna have one trait, the trait it came with, it's not worth fully investing or transferring your fully traded blue into an epic that only has one trait. Ideally, you would want to at least have like the base traits on the item before you transfer a fully traded blue. These are essential tips because you'll lose stats. This fully traded blue has more evasion than a non traded because the blues from purple you add one stat line. So I would need to at least get three traits into melee evasion on my purple gloves before they're better than my blues. Okay. Same thing with the boots. Same thing with the pants. My pants have melee vision. These give me 120 melee vision. When I go to T1, it's gonna give me 160 melee vision. So those are some rules of thumb before transferring your gear. You have to think about how many stats you're gonna lose. You have to calculate the actual stats and the traits and how much you're getting on your purple. The base numbers on the epics are always gonna be better, but you don't want to lose your traits. You want to keep it balanced. So the goal is always to get fully traded blues to transfer into purple. What I have here is the best in slot gear for my T1 melee evasion build. However, I'm not currently running all best in slot gear because it's expensive. In game, I'm using Braces of Primal King. This is a really good progression item because it drops in Cave of Destruction and it's a lot cheaper. I'm using Class of the Conqueror because you can get these with Abyss currency, um, which is basically free. Abyss currency comes from doing weekly blue quests. Okay, and then I'm using Amber Dimensional because this is free. You can get the Amber Dimensional from running 10 times, well, 3 times every dungeon. So you need 10 coins, adding up to 60 coins total. And then you're going to make a Dimension Salvation, and you're going to craft the Precious Epic accessory selection box. So I'm trading my accessories for free because they're so expensive. This is how you progress currently in global. However, like I said, this is best in slot. So eventually we want to go for Slaughterer's Collar. But in terms of progression, you want to fully trade what's easily available before you try and go for something expensive. Even though I put out the best in slot builds, you want to progress your gear as you can. You don't want to rush and try and get something that's too expensive, right? I'm still using the blue Night Slayer's mantle because even if I get one Immortal Reckoning or one Slaughters, right? It's Immortal Reckoning. You just click the view database if you want to see the AGS name. But yeah, if I only have one of these, you need three purples base in order to fully use an item. Because if you don't have the three traits you need on that item, you're gonna have to keep getting that item. You're gonna have to keep getting that item over and over and over. So in terms of priority, you're gonna have to essentially um, go for the easier obtainable item. Night Slayers is once you get the base trait or the base cape of Night Slayers, you can just buy the traits from the auction house. So that brings me to my next point on how you're gonna progress, right? All of this gear, the progression gear, uh, like I said, the accessories are self-explanatory because they come from the currencies. The armor, you can farm, like if you ever want to know where something drops, you come to the crafting menu using comma, and then you can click it in the crafting menu, and you can click how to acquire. Guild Malakar, Dimension Malakar, and Malakar Boss drops these gloves. That being said, you can also come into the database and same thing. View in database, it'll show you where to get the gear. Um, but that's what gear you should be going for, where to get the gear, but how do you guys make the money to buy the traits? That way you can fully trade and get to 3.3k combat power like me. Well, if you look at my auction house, this is how I've been making majority of my lucid. I made 22k lucid in this game from extracting traits from items I get while doing dungeons and from extracting traits from drops that I get open world. You lithograph anything that sells for a really good amount, anything that sells for like 2,000 or sometimes over 1,000, you're going to want to lithograph. So those are two things you're going to need to learn in order to progress to mid game. You need to understand the trade extraction feature using trade extraction stones, and you need to understand the lithographing feature um, using precious blank lithographs. It's only worth it to lithograph weapons if you're making over 2,000, and then if you're making over 1,000, it's usually worth it to lithograph an accessory or armor because weapons actually cost double the amount of materials to lithograph. You can come here to the crafter and you can see it's 10 parchment, 25 ink for an accessory. However, when I craft a lithograph using the weapons merchant, um, it's going to be 50 enchanting ink and 20 parchment. So it's double the materials, therefore you want double the amount of lucid when you lithograph a weapon. So now you guys know what you should be going for in order to make your money. Where do you go to farm those purples though? Okay. So mid game, transitioning to mid game where we are right now, there's only, in my opinion, two dungeons you should be farming. If you're entry level, like you're brand new to the game, you don't really have a lot of gear, you should be farming Shadow Crypt. And what you farm in this dungeon are going to be wizards for the pants, enforcers for the ancient tapestry mantle, um, and you can also pair in some assassins for the longbow of tree. But you're farming those purples so you can trade extract and then sell them and work on getting fully traded blues before you transition into purple. If you can't almost fully trade a purple, there's no point to transition into it. Your blue's going to be stronger. So your goal is to make Lucent, fully trade your blues, and then start farming out some of your T1 purple as you can. So like I said, new players, you're farming Shadow Crypt for T1 purple. If you're like 2.5k combat power, around 2,000 combat power, you can start moving to Silas Abyss, um, which has a bit better mobs. Or even if you have just a really good party, you can just skip Shadow and go straight to Silas Abyss if it's open on your server. You're gonna farm in the bottom right here or at the top, and you're gonna kill the head shaman, the boss, every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes you can set a timer, he's gonna respawn. You can also farm trackers for the Dark Slayer daggers and the band. These both sell for a decent amount. And then you can also farm berserkers for the Tome of Proximate Remedy because it sells for a lot. So you'll be targeting trackers and berserkers. And another thing you can do while you're doing Shadow Crypt, while you're doing Silas, is you're gonna want to activate your your blue quests. When you accept these, you can re-roll the rewards and also re-roll the contract so you can get the mobs that you want to target. Like I said, I would be targeting trackers, um, and berserkers. So this quest is fine because I can kill either butchers or berserkers 28 times and I can complete this quest. Um, so yeah, these are the things you're going to be looking for, you guys. Where to farm, what to farm, lithographing, trade extracting in order to make lucent, and then buying the cheaper items because your abyss contract tokens are limited. You don't want to spend the limited currency in low level content like ants nest, for example, when you could be farming higher level content, shadow crypt, silence abyss 4, 5, and 6 for purples, because when you get those purples you can just sell them and then, like I said, just make a bunch of lucent, and you're gonna buy the extracts that are the cheapest. And basically, what you do for that is you're gonna find a trait that you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for a max health trait. You can literally just sort by max health in that category. If it's armor, um, just sort by max health, for example, and you find the cheapest trait to put into your gear. But keep in mind, when you're trading your gear, for example, here, um, you need to have the base traits on an item in order to use an item that's not the same. So in order to get bind chance, max health, skill damage boost on this, I need to get this violent ring 3 times with those traits to put into this. If I don't have the violent ring 3 times, then what you can do is, on T1, like on my T1 staff, you can trait unlock, meaning I need 100 trait unlock stones. And these trade unlock stones are gonna come from the battle pass. So what's extremely essential for mid-game progression is the premium battle pass or completing the battle pass. The free battle pass gives you a decent amount, but the premium battle pass gives you a large amount. You're also gonna want to come in here, get the resistance contract passes with your star crystal and your mastery report for your skill mastery. Um, However, this is very, very essential, as well as a leveling log. Leveling log is very, very useful as well, for mid game. Both of these, if you can afford them, are huge. And then the other thing, Amazon has been giving us ornate coins. What you're going to do with these ornate coins to boost your combat power is getting these skill books. These are priority. And then after the skill books, enchanted ink so that you can craft lithographs. This is gonna make you a lot of money, you guys. You see I'm sold out. And then the precious busting pouches. Precious busting pouches I think are more priority after you bought your skill books, because these busting pouches are gonna give you more contracts, which give you more abyss currency, which, like I said, is gonna give you a necklace. You just need 40 abyss currency per each necklace. So the more of these quests you're doing, the more free accessories, T1 accessories you have. Okay. All right. The last thing that I want to recommend you guys do for prepare for mid game is to focus on your life skills. Okay. You're gonna be fishing, cooking, sending out your amatoy every hour. Your amatoy should be collecting protein and or salt, and you're gonna take all those materials and you're gonna take it over here to the sundries merchant, and then every day you're gonna buy honey, you're gonna buy golden rye, you're gonna buy eggs, all your daily content. Every day you're gonna be running contracts and you're gonna buy all your daily content. Mystic Keys. If you really, really like fishing, you can get the fishing bait. However, I'm a little backed up on that. You're gonna get the precious blessing pouch from the contract coin merchant. You're gonna get your rare parchment from the contract coin merchant every single day. That's how you should be optimized for in game. And then in your guild merchant, every single day you're gonna want to get the every week you're gonna want the trait conversion. Every day you're gonna want the precious pouch or the precious materials, potentially the precious crystal as well. The stellarites are nice to have, but you absolutely, absolutely are gonna want to buy these potions every day. I have just started a new guild, so my guild's not level 10 yet, so I'm not able to purchase these anymore. I've recently swapped to serve Eternal Bog, and I'm trying to build a guild of mercenaries. Um, but yeah, one huge tip, after collecting all that daily stuff, and like I said, working on your cooking, um, another huge tip, you guys. You're gonna want to join the Discord because you're gonna want this. You're gonna want the TNL stat sheet and you're gonna want the progression guide. I currently have a stat sheet in the game which is currently helping 80 people, that explains all the hit and evasion calculations so you can know how much evasion you need over your enemy's hit so you're not getting hit by every single skill that someone's throwing out. If you're making an evasion build, it helps a lot to know the calculations. You can also calculate the crit chance for endurance and the skill damage boost versus skill damage resistance calculations, as well as the heavy attack calculations. All of the essential stat calculations are in this sheet. Highly recommend requesting access to this. Like I said, it's in the game knowledge channel in my Discord and it's pinned. And then I have here the progression guide. This was originally created by Trey, but I did edit this for people that wanted to start as Expo. But essentially, the information by Trey, he made a weekly and daily checklist, and then he went over all the daily information. These are the two most important documents. We also have some important links in there as well. But yeah, hopefully all this information helped. I know it's a lot of information. If you guys need any, or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. Please join the Discord. Please join the stream on Twitch or YouTube, either one. Thanks so much for watching. Peace and love, you guys.